read several myths and legends.
This one is about Llewellyn.
Hope you enjoy. Llewellyn, the last Welsh prince. Llewellyn was the Prince of Wales. He lived in Gwynedd over 700 years ago. King Edward was the King of England. He wanted to be the King of Wales too. Edward sat in his place in London. He was angry because Llewellyn would not come to bow down to him. Llewellyn was going to marry a lady named Eleanor, so Edward kept her prison to punish Llewellyn. Still, Llewellyn would not come to bow down to Edward. Edward led his soldiers into the Wales to attack Llewellyn. Llewellyn said, "I will go to my castle in the mountains of Snowdonia. I will be safe there. Edward will never capture me. He will soon get tired and go back to London." Edward did not get tired. He stopped food from reaching Llynedd, and Llewellyn and his soldiers became very hungry. Llewellyn had to give in and bow down to Edward. Edward said, "You can be Prince of Gwynedd, but not Prince of Wales. I am the ruler of Wales." Llewellyn and Eleanor were married.
There was peace in Wales, but Llewellyn was still unhappy. "How dare Edward tell me what to do? I'm the Prince of Wales," said Llewellyn. Soon the King of England and the Prince of Wales were fighting again. Once again, Llewellyn went to his castle in the mountains. Once again, Edwin stopped food reaching him. This time, Llewellyn escaped with his soldiers. One morning, Llewellyn was resting on the banks of a river near Builth. Some England soldiers saw him. They did not know who he was, but they knew he was an enemy. One soldier galloped on his horse and killed Llewellyn with his lance. They cut off his head and sent it to the King Edward in London. King Edward was happy at last. Llewellyn is dead. Now I rule Wales as well as England. Today is Kilmary. A stone marks the spot of where Llewellyn was killed by the English soldier. Many people go there to remember Llewellyn, our last prince.
We have been studying Gethin Williams.
And he wouldn't use paintbrushes, he would use other shoes instead.
He would mix all colours by using black.
My favourite thing was mixing the colours together.
My favourite thing was shading the clouds.
one winner of our poem competition was Riley. I'll read it for you. Fish running away from the oven, chips cheering the fish on, hot dogs crying in theatre. This reminds me of the beach. Well done, Riley.
I read the poem. These are the things that remind me of the beach. Fish are dancing, hot dogs being burnt, sun chilling in the sun, chips are tapping, the nostalgia of the beach. Fish are dancing, seaweed moving, beach balls bouncing, chips are flapping all around, the nostalgia of the beach.
This is my amazing poem about Wales.
Fish are hiding, seaweed dancing, sand is tickling, chips are tanning, the nostalgia of the beach. Beach ball jumping, hot dogs being burnt, sea waving to me, ice cream yelling, the nostalgia of the beach.
This is everything that reminds me of the beach. The chips started dancing on the hot plate. Hot dogs wrapping up in towels. Lemonade saying, "Then drink me." Fish jumping up and down in the nostalgia of the beach.
I drew the Principality Stadium because in our lessons we learned it was the biggest stadium in Wales. I made this dragon using a paper plate because the dragon is a symbol of Wales.
I've been practicing to draw dragons at home, and for my art I decided to draw the red dragon because it's a symbol of Wales. My picture is about things that remind me of Wales. Beaches remind me of Wales because there's a lot of beaches on the holidays where I go and reminds me of it. The city reminds me of Wales because they're big, and Cardiff City reminds me of. My house reminds me of Wales because it's somewhere I live and I remember that for most of my life. My school reminds me of Wales because I love spending time in it, and it's my favourite place to be.